FM. The #1 FM talk radio station in the Inland Empire. KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind. Express 106.5 FM.
Hello, and live from the studios of KCAA AM 1050 in sunny Southern California, home to the dream of the California lifestyle, welcome to Julie Talks Money, where money is our subject, experts are our teachers, and financial literacy, freedom, and lifestyle is our mutual goal. I'm your host, Julie Phelan. Thank you for joining us. Every week, my expert guest and I will bring you tidbits and a bunch of secrets and clues about how to make more money, keep it, and double it or triple it safely and legally. Whether it's the real story behind fixing and flipping a house, to the new technology that's changing our wallets, or how you can make sure to have enough money for your kids' college, my hope is that you'll find fascinating and fun information as Julie talks money with real people like you and with experts in real estate, stocks, budgets, loans, and big fat piggy banks. Today, I'm pleased to have two top guys in all of the LA and Inland Empire areas who are really successful in their respective careers of real estate. One works mostly with homeowners, and the other has been neck-deep in investment real estate and flips for years. And both of them are using technology and social media to change the way they do business. You'll really want to hear what they have to say about what the market is doing and how it might be changing and how to use it to your advantage. But first, I always like to start out with some tidbits, little pieces of info that I think are kind of fun, but also hopefully relevant to our talks. So the first one is about some lottery winners. Now, this is not a retirement plan for anybody, but sometimes it happens for people. So in a quest for cheaper gas, there was a guy in Michigan who was out to dinner with his restaurant when he realized he needed to stop for gas. So he told her that he saw gas for 22 cents cheaper per gallon down the street, so they decided after dinner to go there. And while he was there, he bought a single ticket for the Friday night Mega Millions drawing. Well, he won $1 million. So I think right there could be a couple different morals to that story. And then in Wisconsin, you may have heard about it, a single man, 24 years old, stepped forward to claim a $768 million Powerball prize on Tuesday. So I don't know what's going on with these Great Lakes states and northern Michigan and Wisconsin, but something's happening. Anyway, Manuel Franco, who lives in a Milwaukee suburb, pocketed the third largest jackpot in U.S. lottery history. He bought the winning ticket, a quick pick, at a Speedway gas station on March 27th, the day of the drawing. He opted for the $477 million cash option. After state and federal taxes, Franco will net $326 million. So $326 million today versus $768 million, which would be an extra $442 million if he took it over time, on over 30 years. Would you give up that $442 million? What if it took you 30 years to get it? It'd be kind of like a mortgage, wouldn't it? It's kind of like what we're paying the banks, if you think about it. So instead of the extra money, lotteries often use something called future value when they figure out what a lump sum payment is worth. And I'll talk about that in another show. But you can also look at it as one of the other ways where cash is king. And people, especially motivated sellers of properties, are much more likely to take a smaller amount for their house or property if you give them all cash and give it to them right now. Okay. So, moving on, and to the job world, we all know other people with extra jobs. It used to be called a second job or an extra part-time job. And now we have special words for them. These days, they're called side hustles or side gigs. And here's a new one, slashies. I don't know if you ever heard of that. But if you drive for Uber or blog for your favorite recipes, work part-time maybe at a flower shop, or do some dog walking on the side, then you're a slashie. When you've got more than one career and need to put a slash between each one, chef slash dog walker slash Uber driver slash graphic designer, then you're known as a slashie. So one of the things that I talk about when I speak at clubs and schools is the different things that we do, and especially women and girls, at different ages to make money, and why it's different at each age. And this applies to boys, too, if they're still mowing lawns for extra money. Well, for teens, that's always included babysitting, right? For pocket change. So if you're a teen or an adult paying a babysitter, what are the going rates these days? How much should you pay your babysitter? Well, figuring out how much to pay the babysitter can be tricky business. You want to pay fairly, but if you start off too high at the beginning of the relationship, there's really no walking it back. And each year, babysitting network Urban Sitter releases a survey of average babysitting cost by major city. Of course, there's something online for babysitting now, too, and for cost. Well, get this. The national average for 2019 is $16.75 per hour for one child and $19.26 per hour for two children. That's up a little bit from last year. But the rates do vary widely, from as low as $11.63 for one kid in Las Vegas, which I don't think is necessarily that low, to $18.75 an hour in San Francisco. So tell me, what are you doing in that corporate job again? Are you making that much? You certainly are not probably doing that at Walmart. Maybe you should look at babysitting. In retirement news, and other retirement news, in South Carolina, a former police chief on probation for robbing a bank was arrested for robbing another bank. If he keeps this up, I have serious doubts about him ever getting his old job back. But he said he had to make ends meet somehow. So for Game of Thrones fans, Sunday on TV, the Game of Thrones is the longest episode, 82 minutes. It's the longest episode ever, and they're going to do some of that in snow, which it's doing in Chicago right now, strangely. This could be the huge battle that they said took over 55 nights to film under brutally different conditions, plus weeks of in-studio filming. Boy, I'm so glad that I'm not in TV work anymore. It can really be a grind, and it was one of the hardest jobs that I have ever done. It's not so glamorous. Believe me, real estate and money is much more fun. And it doesn't take nearly as much time and very little night work like that. So speaking of entertainment, just a couple other tidbits. If you want to feel kind of old, Al Pacino is 79 this week, and my beloved Carol Burnett turned 86. Time really does fly. And lastly, in the realms of the more technical disruption, fingerprint payments with your debit card are coming. That's the next new thing. Swiping your debit card as a checkout, we all know about that, right? That is a very common thing now. And it's mostly convenient, but not completely. And that's because every so often you still have to put in your PIN numbers, or you have to do some little prompts on the screen and touch it. It's only a couple of times, and the cashier's sitting there waiting, but it's still not as convenient as it can be. Well, in the United Kingdom, a bank is testing a new type of debit card with a built-in fingerprint reader. So you'll place your finger on the card's small reader and just swipe your finger. And that's it. And the money will be taken out of your account. We'll have some new security issues to deal with on that, I'm sure. But it'll be interesting to see how those will work in the future. And I wanted to end our tidbit section with that because technical disruption is all around us, and it seems to be the story of our lives this 21st century, which amazingly is already almost 20 years old. Wasn't it yesterday we were just celebrating the millennium or worried about the Y2K bug stuff? Things have gone far beyond what we've ever conceived, and more like science fiction coming to life in many ways. And change is the nature of the game today and keeping up with change. So both of my guests today will be talking about that and how it relates to this part of Southern California, making money, new ways to do old things, and how it can and will affect you, and how you can make more money from it. So my first guest is Rudy Kasuma. Am I saying that right, Rudy? That's what I thought. He's a $1 million agent and a broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, in the Inc. 5000 fastest growing private real estate company in America. He's been named as the #1 team leader in all of California by RE/MAX LLC. And Rudy and his team have sold over $1 billion worth of transactions. He's been awarded multiple top producer awards, including top 5 team leaders in RE/MAX. Rudy has a very interesting and new model of doing things, but before I get to that, I also want to say that he's got a very interesting and I think something that I really like, direction that he views things in. He's been a co-author with Brian Tracy, with Jack Canfield, author of the Chicken Soup for Soul books. And what is the name of that book?
The Soul of Success.
That's it. And he also has been on stage or worked with Brian Tracy. So he comes from a somewhat spiritual standpoint also. And he believes that every member of his team works together with the genuine desire to help people. So that's really wonderful. There it is, The Soul of Success. So anyway, he is right here in the Inland Empire, and I'd like to say welcome, Rudy. Thanks for coming to Julie Talks Money.
It's a pleasure to be here, Julie. Thank you for having me.
And I appreciate that. So I think we'll be right back with Rudy for more information and get into the meat of the interview.
All right, thank you.
We all know money doesn't grow on trees, but you can grow your wealth every Saturday at 11 a.m. with Julie Phelan. Julie and her guests have a wealth of knowledge to help you gain more wealth. Your financial future can be bigger than your past. If you need to build fast cash or passive income or long-term wealth, each Saturday at 11 a.m. for Julie Talks Money, right here on NBC Radio, KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. And now on Alexa, play KCAA.
Okay, so we are back with Julie Talks Money, and I'm here with my guest in studio, Rudy Kusuma, who is the broker and owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed. So tell us about that, Rudy, and about your slogan. What does that mean?
Julie, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty Inc. is the only company that has the consumer's benefits as part of our company's name. And we are here to redefine the job of a real estate agent.
And how do you do that? I know I've read some things. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I got my real estate license in 2007, and the first day I got my real estate license, Julie, immediately I found out there's a huge problem in real estate industry today, and that 70-80% of real estate agents' time is spent on prospecting, cold calling, door knocking. Mm-hmm. You see, their busyness have nothing to do with serving the consumers. And so what we did with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty is that we create a team system where each individual person has a specific role in that transaction. So for example, in our team, we have our marketing department who's focused solely on generating prospective buyers and sellers, ready, willing, and able buyers coming into our office every single day. Every month, we have about 2,000 prospective buyers thinking of buying a home.
Wow, that's a ton.
Then the next one, we have our administrative staff team that makes sure that each one of those buyers and sellers actually input it into our database. And then we have our inside sales team that focus solely on checking the timing and motivation, make sure we only deal with the buyers who's ready, willing, and able to buy now. Mm-hmm. Once we select that, then we book the appointments, face-to-face buyers and listing appointments to our outside sales team partners. So the real estate agents in my team, they focus on one thing and one thing only, that is to serve the consumers.
Now, I think I told you, I've had my real estate license since 2002, and I have gone through a lot of what you were talking about. I mean, that cold calling, that prospecting is really so daunting. It can be, right? And, you know, if you're door knocking or if you're going places or you're talking to people everywhere you go saying, you know, do you have a house to sell? And people don't like that. They're like, oh, my God, that's all they want to talk to me about. Yeah. And then you have to do the calling and you have to try new listings and the other thing. That model sounds really pretty amazing.
I'm not against door knocking, Julie. I'm not against door knocking. I'm not against cold calling. It's just that today in 2019, it's still amazing to see real estate industry is the only industry that's still using that kind of techniques, that kind of strategy, which I think is obsolete. In order to be successful in today's real estate market, we got to leverage system. We got to leverage technology. We got to leverage people. There is no leverage in one-on-one door knocking. There is no leverage in one-on-one cold calling. And think about it. How does it benefit the consumers when the owner of the house thinking of selling their home today, when they hire a real estate agent, the traditional real estate model, all the agents do put a for sale sign in front of the house and passively waiting for the buyers to come in, right? Think about it. If you're selling your home, you hire me. How do you feel if all I do, put a for sale sign in front of your house and waiting passively on an hour's open house, kick you out of your own home and waiting for buyers to come in? So that's the reason why at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, we redefine that. We change how real estate industry works. So when the consumers, when the owner of the house hire our team to sell their home, right now in my database, we already have over 45,000 buyers ready, willing, and able to buy, looking to buy homes right now.
Does that mean that they are qualified already with a mortgage? They're able to buy financially? You qualify them, pre-qualify them?
Yes. So when the buyers call in our office, the first thing is our administrative staff team input it into our database. Then our inside sales team check the timing and motivation, and then to book a face-to-face appointment with our buyers, with our outside sales team. Our outside sales team then check, pre-qualify, pre-approve, connected with the lenders. In fact, Julie, when you're selling your home, when you receive an offer from our team, the offers that we present to you, the owner of the house, there is no loan contingencies. We do what's called a full loan underwriter's approval to all of our VIP buyers' clients. So think about it. So when the owner of the house hire our team to sell their home, it's as if I've been working for you long before we met.
I like that. And, I also had read about your analogy to a doctor's office. You had another one. Can you tell us a little bit about that, too? Because I love that. That makes it so clear.
Real estate industry, real estate agents is the only industry that the one person do everything. It's like juggling all the balls by themselves. Imagine, how do you feel? You go to a doctor's office. The doctor is the one who's looking for the customers. You come in, the doctors actually do everything. No, it doesn't work like that. So when we talk about at your home sold guaranteed realty, when we talk about redefining the job of a real estate agent, all we simply do, we create what's called a specialization, meaning each individual person has a specific role in the transaction. Just like when you walk into a doctor office, we have the marketing department, we have the nurse taking your information.
Not the doctor?
Right? How can you imagine? So the doctors only do what change the outcome. How do you feel if you go to a doctor? How do you feel if you go to a brain surgeon and the brain surgeon spend 70-80% of their time prospecting for a new patient?
Or writing down your insurance information, or taking your blood pressure. Right?
So I'm not. Everything is important, right? Every single one of those, taking the blood pressure, taking the blood, those are all important. However, don't you want your doctors to really be good, to be really specialized in what they do best? So that's all we are doing in our company. In our team system, in our team model, all we are doing is that each individual person specialize in what they do best. So the marketing, the advertising person, they do what they do best. We leverage billboards, we leverage the radio, we leverage the TV, we leverage the media to generate ready, willing, and able buyers and sellers to call.
So tell us a little bit more about that, because we're talking about technology also. How are you using that social media, the technology, not just the billboards, but other things to get those prospects? I know every real estate agent in the world that I've ever seen has a website, and you can look at their properties there, and the next thing you know, you're getting emails, but they're not doing anything, in my mind. They've got a passive website, and that's it.
I think website, Julie, is kind of like the death of a website. The reason, because now when you have a website, it's kind of like you open up a retail store, right? Just because you have a website and you hope, it's like you're opening up a retail store and you hope the customers walk in.
True.
It's very passive approach. Today is 2019. So when we talk about technology, we'll talk about artificial intelligence. For example, do you know that right now we can look at the consumer's behavior? For example, when you go to my website, we call it a funnel, right? On a funnel, so when you go to my website, we can see which homes are you looking at, which criteria, which price range you are looking at, and then once we look at your behavior, then our system, our technology will follow you. Meaning, let's say you go to a different website, let's say you go to Amazon, you go to eBay, you go to Craigslist, then you're gonna see homes that match your criteria from my company will pop up next to you. Have you gone to like Amazon, Julie? Have you gone to Amazon and then let's say you're buying shoes and then you go to a different website and then the shoes actually will follow you?
Yes, absolutely, immediately.
Yes, and that's called retargeting. The technology is already here. Right? So when you go to Facebook, for example, we can study who is the consumers who's looking to buy homes in the area. We can see their level of education, the level of income. We can see all that. Then we can see which homes that match your criteria. Then we're going to follow you through. When we say we, I'm talking about this computer system, this technology is going to follow you. And then so when you go to different websites, you're going to see suddenly homes that match your criteria is showing up next to you. It's not about the real estate agents. That's what I'm trying to say, Julie. Most real estate agents, they keep on saying, I'm the number one real estate agent. The consumers don't care. There is no benefits.
And they decide.
Yes. How does it benefit the consumers?
So you're doing more active going to the consumer so that you're in their presence or they see you much more frequently. Now, aren't you doing something with Redfin also, which is something investors use a lot for finding properties or for looking at values of properties?
Yeah, so when the owner of the house, so we are talking about everything is what's in it for the consumers. It starts with our company's name, right?
Right.
Even from the company name, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty Incorporated.
Is that your website also? Is that how people can find you?
Yes, our website, yourhomesold.com. Correct.
.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And so the one of the ways to create more demand, so when the owner of the house hire our team to sell their home, the homeowners are looking for buyers. So imagine you're thinking of selling your home in today's real estate market. By the way, Julie, as you know, right now there's 10, 15, 20 times more active home available for sale. So if you're thinking of selling your home in today's market, you don't want to be just another one home for sale, right? So how are you being different and exclusive? So when you hire our team, we already have these 45,000 buyers looking to buy. So within the first 2 weeks, within the first week or two, the objective is to create multiple offers on your home that's not subject to financing.
That's great. You know, we have a couple more minutes. At first, I would like to know, what is there a phone number people can contact you at?
Yes, the best way to call our team, 626-789-0159.
Say that again?
626-789-0159. Your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it. To discuss the sale of your home, call 626-789-0159.
That's great. Now, real quick before we end up, and I would love to talk to you more about this, and I hope you'll come back sometime, but you mentioned that the market is changing and that it is taking longer, and you said there's more inventory also. What are you seeing right now in your area in the San Gabriel Valley and also in the Empire? What's happening with the market?
Yep, in our marketplace now, Julie, there's the number of homes that's available for sale. It's literally 3, 4, 5, 10 times more than it used to be 2 years ago.
Wow, that's a lot.
So that's the reason why we have to be careful. When you are thinking of selling your home, you can no longer just put a for sale sign. In the past, when I say in the past, I was talking about 2 years ago.
Even 1 year ago.
So last year, when you're thinking of selling your home, you can simply put a for sale sign and home will be sold. Right now, imagine in the past there's 50 homes, 50 buyers. Right now, there's 200 homes, the same amount of buyers. So if you just put a for sale sign, it's not gonna work. So we, in our company, we invented this Arbit home selling system. The purpose of this Arbit home selling system is to create a sense of urgency and excitement. So your home sold within the first 2 weeks. Because if your home is not sold with no multiple offers within the first 2 weeks, Julie, it's going to go downhill from that point on.
Well, let me ask you this. You know, in the past year, maybe 2 years, we've seen a whole lot, Rudy, of people saying they're going to get bidding wars going, you know, that, it doesn't matter. I'll put my house up for sale. It'll sell in 5 days, and I'm going to have 10 offers on it. Is that still happening?
The average homeowners are not experiencing that. But with our system, we are creating that kind of environment in today's real estate market.
No, I understand that, but I'd like to know, just as an expert in your market, what you're seeing, because the people here, when we're talking about money and talking about real estate, and if they're thinking about selling or thinking about buying, or through the investors who are thinking about buying rental property, which they can do through you too, right?
Yes.
You know, or people who are looking maybe to flip a property. It's not quite the same as it was, right?
Yes.
We're seeing a change, a shift.
Yes, that's the reason why the homeowners today, the investors today, we need to be really careful when we hire a real estate agent. We got to ask, what's your plan? What's your plan to create multiple offers within the first 2 weeks for my home in today's real estate market?
I like that. You have to have a plan.
And putting a for sale sign and hoping the buyer's going to come is not a plan.
No, we always say that whether it's retirement or whether it's anything else, hope is not a plan. Hope is never a plan.
Yeah, hopium, right?
Hopium. I like that.
Hopium is not a marketing plan.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Thanks so much for being with me, Rudy. I really appreciate that. And again, give us their phone number and how people can get a hold of you.
It's a pleasure, Julie. Thank you so much. And once again, your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy to discuss the sale of your home. Call Rudy at 626-789-0159 and start packing.
That's great. Thanks again, Rudy, so much. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Bye-bye. It's great.
We all know money doesn't grow on trees, but you can grow your wealth every Saturday at 11 a.m. with Julie Phelan. Julie and her guests have a wealth of knowledge to help you gain more wealth. Your financial future can be bigger than your past. If you need to build fast cash or passive income or long-term wealth, each Saturday at 11 a.m. for Julie Talks Money, right here on NBC Radio, KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. And now on Alexa, play KCAA.
Coverage of where you drive most. I'm Angel Martinez.
If you want to sell your home, any agent can put a sign in your yard. Which agent is going to actually sell your home for the most money? Well, it's Rudy Kasuma. Rudy will sit down with you. You agree on a price and a deadline. If the deadline passes and the home isn't sold, he will buy your home guaranteed. If your house doesn't sell, Rudy will buy it as is for a price acceptable to you. Rudy sold a home in the San Gabriel Valley for $22,000 over asking price after only 10 days on the market. Call Rudy Kasuma now, 855-RUDY-SELLS. That's 855-783-9735. Or go to rudyhasthebuyers.com. That's rudyhasthebuyers.com.
Okay, and this is Julie Phelan back here with Julie Talks Money, and I am so excited to be introducing my next guest. His name is Aaron Norris. A lot of people might be familiar with a company called the Norris Group. It has been very well known for buying and selling real estate, working with investors, loans, lending in the Inland Empire, I think, golly, more than 20 years. And also Aaron and his father Bruce have had a very good pulse on the market. Matter of fact, a lot of conversations and talks over the years about what is happening in the market and statistically charting what the changes have been, and that's one way in which they have been able to kind of advise people and advise investors especially on what they might want to do and what the market timing could be indicating that they do. So this is a kind of a taking it separately from Rudy, talking about homeowners and homeownership for people who are going to actually live in the place that they're buying. That Aaron is going to talk to us about changes that he's seeing, or I hope he is, in the market now, especially for investors. Aaron has an MBA. I think he has a couple of them. He is a maven in digital technology. He's doing a bunch of stuff on marketing. They have their own YouTube channel also, and he'll talk about that with different market reports. And he also has a lot of interesting things to say about out-of-state investing. So please help me welcome Aaron Norris.
Well, thank you, Julie. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're able to do this, Aaron. How's your day going so far?
It is a very boring Saturday, just how I need it.
That's good. And maybe we'll liven it up a little here for you.
Where shall we start?
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about, first of all, your YouTubes, which are so interesting, and it's part of your whole marketing, and I know you're talking about markets. You're very interested in that, too. Can you give us a little idea of what it is that you talk about on that?
Sure. Every Friday, I do the real estate headline roundup. It's sort of like I don't even know how many years I've been doing it. It's probably getting close to 10. So every Friday, produce a video on the biggest headlines in real estate, talk about the latest stats. I happen to write for various outlets, Forbes, Bigger Pockets, and Think Realty Magazine, sort of through the beat of real estate investor and technology. So I'm very interested in things like artificial intelligence, robotics, industrial revolution 4.0 kind of stuff. I'm a little bit of a nerd. My dad is really about the market. He's been breathing, sleeping, data since he's been a real estate investor for 30 years. I like to sort of transcribe that for the average consumer and then layer on technology of how it's going to change our business. So iBuyers, artificial intelligence, and bots. It's just all kinds of fun, nerdy stuff. So every Friday, I try to create a highlight reel of less than 10 minutes of how people can catch up and stay up to date during the week.
And I do like that because it is quick and it's brief. You do cover a whole lot of territory.
I try to keep it snappy, and if they want to read the full thing, they can go on our blog and link out to the full story. It's just sometimes can be a little overwhelming, and as a real estate investor, you have to know a little bit about the mortgage business, construction, legislation for those vacation rentals, and looking into accessory dwelling units. We try to follow a bunch of different stuff, but as a real estate investor, you sort of have to know a little bit about everything, and our specialty is really digging into the state of California as well. So always try to go through a little bit of a California lens. So if there's something California specific, we'll always try to include that.
Yeah, well, tell us about a little bit what you're seeing in the California market and what's changing, and also maybe more specifically new construction, because you were talking about that too. But first things first, what is happening in California, especially in the standpoint of investing and building, migration. There's a whole lot of things we can go into, but
sure. Yeah, we in January released a report called California Real Estate on Borrowed Time. The quick synopsis is my father, Bruce Norris. We put together this 280-page report, 400 charts, telling investors why we thought we were about at the eighth inning. It's exhaustive. We show everybody how we got to that conclusion, and not just that, how to apply it to the market. It's not that as a hard money lender, we're not lending anymore in California. It just means that we helped a lot of people get in after a report we wrote in 2006 called The California Crash. That one was 400 pages and around 800 charts, but it told people why we thought it was really time to get out of the market and where to go. So On Borrowed Time was really saying, a lot of investors got the chance of a lifetime to buy things in 09, 010, 11, 012 that were far below replacement cost. We have several investors who specifically bought in markets like Palmdale, Lancaster, the Inland Empire, Sacramento, Fresno, Bakersfield. Those areas during even a mild downturn, that doesn't really necessarily show up on a median chart very well, but those are the areas that get hit hardest, they get hit first, and they are the last to come back. So for an investor whose entire portfolio, for example, who may be in Bakersfield, the 1970s and 80s inventory that they bought for $40,000 a door, has it done its job? Number one, it's quadrupled in price, most likely. Do you have the tenant that you want? Do you love it as a rental? Has it done its job? And is there something better that money can be doing to make a higher rate of return? So that's what we specialize in working with investors with, is looking at an entire portfolio. We're a lender in Florida as well. So we'll be building several hundred houses in Florida. Dad has been investing there since Hurricane Andrew, so he's been there since the 90s. And our family has flipped about 100 houses over the last decade. We've continued to build out there. We just really like the build-to-rent model. It's a very unique time. California is just a little difficult to find cash flow these days. So, again, just trying to get investors to really think about what they own, why they own it. If they have exactly what they want, great. Stay put. You don't care what the market does. You're sitting on maybe 4.25% interest rates for 30 years, and it cash flows, you don't care. So,
would you say that that's the case still with Bakersfield, Lancaster, Palmdale, Apple Valley, Hesperia, some of these other places that you just mentioned?
Sorry, what was the question?
Would you say that's still the case for those areas that you mentioned, Fresno, Bakersfield, that are last to rise and first sometimes to drop?
Yeah, typically it's those areas. Well, it's not just the outskirt areas that get hit hardest first. It's also really high-dollar projects. So if you're an investor doing really high-end builds, the number of IPOs that are slated to happen this year in the Silicon Valley, they've blown through their peak price of the last upturn, the 2006 prices, and there's a chance that could keep running. It's just a highly speculative market. If something were to happen and you're sitting on a project that's going to take you 3 years in San Francisco, it works until it doesn't work anymore. So I think the Norris Group in general is just built a little bit more conservative. Everybody has a wheelhouse. As long as you're an expert in that space, you know exactly what you're doing. We always like to talk about multiple exit strategies, and most of that's just based on the personal painful experiences when it goes wrong.
And look, we've all had some of those, I think, who've been active investors. And I certainly have rental properties, and they've been good, but they provide the money up to a point. It's never really looking for the appreciation in some of the areas that I'm in. And I'm not looking for that. I'm looking more for the cash flow. But you still have to watch what's happening in the market, because that's going to affect your tenant base, which is going to affect, what you're going to be able to do and have. Now, I know that there's been a lot of migration out of California, including by the Norris Group, and some of the stuff and investors. You guys are focusing a lot on, as I understand it, Florida and Texas and Nevada. Is that correct?
No, we were in Texas. That was one of the states we sent people to after the California crash. We were looking at states that were typically either counter-cyclical to what California did, or just, to be honest, was just flat out boring and had a long-term trajectory we thought was going to be positive. It worked out okay for people who listened and didn't go in with debt. Texas ended up being a good state. Now we are looking at Florida just because we like the demographics, the long-term trends. If you haven't heard of a book called Big Shifts Ahead, it's a really good read by John Burns and John Burns Real Estate Consulting, talking about where people are moving to and why, and the demographics and their behavior around real estate. Florida, Nevada, Tennessee. I have some friends that retired from the police force. By moving to Tennessee, they bought a dream home, and they also got a 20% bump in their CalPERS retirement just because they moved to a state with no income tax. So, it's going to be interesting to see after the tax season settles down, seeing the actual IRS numbers of where people are going and if we're losing the people we don't want to lose. New York is having this conversation of people who can no longer live there and the extra taxes they're putting on really high-dollar real estate. Real estate is one of those things that they're going to go after.
Oh, absolutely. And, of course, we've all seen the effect of the deduction being taken away or having the cap on it for real estate, and that's definitely affecting the high-dollar areas like New York, New Jersey, and certainly California. And stuff. So it's also going to be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. I'm always interested in watching the market. And one of the things that I've been noticing is that the price of gas has gone up tremendously. It's gone up over 80 cents a gallon since January. And from everything that I've read, that is one of the precursors or one of the signals that we've always seen in the past before a recession. And it could be 4 months before, it could be 6 months or 7 months before, which is another reason maybe to look at other things. And additionally, in July, California is going to add an additional 5.6 cents per gallon on tax, another tax. So taxes is really a huge issue that we're definitely going to be talking about a lot on this show.
But it's not something I actively follow. Luckily, I don't have to drive a lot. I did when I lived in L.A. I luckily don't have to do that very often. I was trying to remember back in the day, I think it was during the recession, that gas prices got really high. I don't know what year, so I don't know if we can look at gas by itself. There's a lot of factors, and we're all in micro markets.
Oh, right, and it's not just by itself. It's just one of those, like they say, that canaries in the coal mine.
Oh, of course. Yeah, there's a few things that we're following. We're definitely feeling, it drives me nuts when I get the question, when do I need to sell? It's just really difficult to time an absolute bottom or top, and it really is the question, has it done its job?
That's it with stocks, right? And stocks or real estate and anything.
You
can't top it, time it.
So I'll give an example. I sold one of my rental properties in Jurupa Valley. I bought it for $220. I had to put considerably more, partly because I'm terrible at rehabbing. I always spend more because I like to take pride in my work, but it paid off for me this time. It sold for $390. I was able to 1031 exchange that into 3 brand new homes in Florida. I got to triple my rents, and I have brand new inventory that will have a 10-year run at not needing any repairs. I have far better tenants. And instead of a late 1970s home, I have something, built in 2017. So
Well, and there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, you look at Los Angeles and all the areas, San Gabriel Valley, you're talking about a lot of homes built in 1920, which now is 100 years ago, you know, and they've had to go through a lot of different things and repairs, but, you know, eventually they're going to have to be torn down, replaced, or major systems being fixed, and that gets to be pretty expensive. When you can get into new construction, it's a whole another ball game and really kind of beneficial.
Yeah, and I think everybody has their different thresholds. I mean, I know some people who love Section 8 rentals. I've learned over time that I am not a flipper, that I love buy and hold. So part of it's personality and how much time that you have. Mm-hmm. I don't have the time right now. The market strategies, being a real estate investor, really changes in California depending on the market. So sometimes when you see these training gurus come through town, this hasn't happened in a while, but a year ago I got a call from somebody who had gone through one of these, seminars on the weekend, spent a couple grand. She was just adamant, I need a hard money loan because I'm going to buy REOs. I'm like, really? So I was like, I need you to go Bank of America. I need to go to the REO section. She's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like, okay, I need you to type in Riverside. She's like, there's only 6. I'm all, correct, in the Inland Empire. She's like, oh. So the market really changes, and right now the vast majority of our hard money loans and where investors are finding deals is they're either building it and creating it, including the accessory dwelling unit craze. They're direct marketing to people with equity, whether that's a landlord or trying to time divorce, death, disease, right. That whole thing. It really changes, and I think that's part of what's so exciting about this business, that if you get it wrong, it's very frustrating.
That's true. Hold those thoughts. We have to go to a break here. 1 second. Will you stick with this?
Sounds good.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Aaron.
We all know money doesn't grow on trees, but you can grow your wealth every Saturday at 11 a.m. with Julie Phelan. Julie and her guests have a wealth of knowledge to help you gain more wealth. Your financial future can be bigger than your past. If you need to build fast cash or passive income or long-term wealth, each Saturday at 11 a.m. for Julie Talks Money, right here on NBC Radio, KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. And now on Alexa, play KCAA.
If you want to sell your home, any agent can put a sign in your yard. Which agent is going to actually sell your home for the most money? Well, it's Rudy Kasuma. Rudy will sit down with you. You agree on a price and a deadline. If the deadline passes and the home isn't sold, he will buy your home, guaranteed. If your house doesn't sell, Rudy will buy it as is for a price acceptable to you. Rudy sold a home in the San Gabriel Valley for $22,000 over asking price after only 10 days on the market. Call Rudy Kasuma now, 855-RUDY-SELLS. That's 855-783-9735. Or go to rudyhasthebuyers.com. That's rudyhasthebuyers.com.
Okay, and we are back here on Julie Talks Money on KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM and 102.3 FM. I'll get these straight. If you want to call and talk to my guest, Aaron Norris, call 909-792-5222 if you have questions about investing or about the Inland Empire, the markets, or Florida. But right now, we were talking about investing and also about new construction. And Aaron, you've talked about that in Florida, but I'm sure that there's a tremendous amount of new building and construction going on here in the Inland Empire. And part of that is because of also migration. A lot of people coming out of the Los Angeles area, both for jobs and for a lower cost of living. Mm-hmm. And they are also finding opportunities, I think, with renting. Can you talk a little bit about that and this area? Because, it's now we've got technology that's making an impact with all the industrial warehouses, Amazon, intermodal transport, and several other things. So we're seeing a lot of people moving out of Los Angeles and into this area.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of very political conversations about gentrification. If you just look a market around like USC, you have to remember we've got the Ram Stadium going in. Mm-hmm. You've got, of course, USC. You've got the Olympics coming.
The Coliseum
you have the
will
George
probably be
Lucas Museum. And then, of course, the downtown. I worked in downtown right before the downturn, and there was very little residential. I worked for an architectural lighting designer and was bidding on a lot of the projects downtown. So when it turned upside down, I watched condos downtown LA go from, $600,000, and they ended up selling for $250 at the bottom. It was crazy. I just kicked myself because I didn't buy 5.
Me too. I wanted to.
But what's interesting is that you'll see in the media a lot. And there's a few reasons you're going to see it. Number one, the media that covers real estate, there's very few media these days. I've been in the PR business for over a decade, and a lot of retiring individuals in the real estate field were replaced by generalists who cover real estate as just a part of their beat. So they're covering everything from stocks and bonds and mutual funds to business to the community. So they can't be an expert at everything. So they take a headline and run with it. The truth of the matter is we're building nowhere near where we were at the last peak. We get the data. Dad is the chair of the Cal Poly Pomona Real Estate Research Council. So we've been tied to that builder data as far as permits go for single family and multifamily. And it's nowhere close as where it used to be. And the builders have really changed their model. There's not a lot of lingering inventory. If we had a crash in the market today, they don't have like neighborhoods of inventory that they're going to have to liquidate at a fast pace. Here in Riverside, I follow a project by KB. It used to be up by a dump up over on the other side of UCR on a big hill.
KB Homes?
Yep, KB Homes. They've been really building to suit. People are selecting the model that they want with the finishes they want, and they're building it. They're not building an entire track, and you're picking one of something existing. So builders have really changed their model quite a bit. So I'm not too worried about that. But the level at which we're building is nothing like we were in '06.
Not the building itself, but I drive through here and I see between here and Palm Springs or San Bernardino, Ontario, billboards all over the place and all these different things, whether it's KB Homes or DB Horton, just divisions, subdevelopments that are coming in and saying, buy your lot now or buy your house now, in anticipation, I suspect, of what they might feel is going to be that many more people coming in here.
It is, and you are correct in that it has doubled, but it has doubled from an anemic number from the downturn. So we're
so
still way
off
the peak, and they're just being more careful in how they're presenting their product. So,
that's a shift for sure. Then
it is a very big shift, and it's interesting to watch what they're building too. There's not, my partner and I, we live in Riverside. We have a 2,500 square foot home. I can't imagine buying anything bigger. I love where I live. It's close to downtown. I lived in New York City for 7 years, so I'm very cool with 100 square feet. So the builders aren't building the small stuff. They really have to build stuff that pencils. And in California, it's so costly to construct. We had the CEO of the California Builders Industry Association on our radio show, and we asked him, how difficult is it to build in California? And he said something really crazy. He's like, well, let me put it this way. When I want to build a home in Florida, I have to ask, what will the economy be like in a year? In California, it's 15 years. So to get from raw land to something that you can actually build on, and that's the other metric to watch, because the permitted, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's grading the lots, it's prepping. That whole process of creating the lots is way down. We're building on stuff that some builders were able to pick up for a song, on finished building lots. So we're seeing a lot of those come to fruition. You see that in Irvine. I drive to Irvine all the time. I see that. The project that KB is building out close to my house, that was something that was already prepared and ready to go.
You mentioned ADUs also, and alternative housing and stuff. We've seen tiny homes. That's another one of those things that's sort of a disruption in housing, we're saying. And I don't know how new technology goes in with that, but maybe prefab homes or pre-manufactured homes?
I love this topic. I have been researching it for, I guess, since almost a year now. We've had the Senator Wachowski, who was one of the state senators that was behind the initial regulation. And if you're not familiar with it, it basically just says if you own a piece of real estate by right, you should be able to build an accessory dwelling unit, a granny flat, a backyard home, whatever you want to call it, in your backyard, with limited city regulation. or ordinances on top of it. So basically, the
this
state
is compared
is regulating.
to what they used to do, which was what, more onerous or challenging?
Well, every city has its own ordinances around it. So the state basically said, none of you cities are meeting your affordable housing goals, and we need inventory. We're a $3 million housing unit short. So any ordinance that you have prior to 2017, that's no longer valid. If you don't write a new one, it defaults to the state. And cities don't really want that because the state is very, very broad. So the difficult part of it is that, for example, Redlands, where you're taping the show, is default to the state. And the city really can't do much. As far as I know, as of about a month or two ago, it defaulted to the state level, and they're very loosey-goosey. So there's very few regulations when it comes to parking, square footage minimums. You're going to want to check, but I know somebody that's building them out there, so maybe you have a 1,500 square foot primary residence. You can build a 600 square foot one in the back to rent out. The issue is, depending on where you're living, they're making it a requirement that one of the units be owner-occupied. I really don't know how they would necessarily check that or chase it down, and I don't know what the ramifications would be if you get a ticket or what they would do. But
that's a little bit different from a home loan.
Correct, but we are about to enter the third round of regulation. When we interviewed Senator Wachowski in November last year, he told me offline, he's like, oh, we're not done yet. Sure enough, there are 9 bills right now in the State Assembly and the Senate that have to deal with this. And the state's upset because the cities have used this as an opportunity to try to raise funds and plug funding gaps. So anywhere from really high school fees to utility plug-in fees. That was not the intent of the bill. So
no, but they're always going to go and get some money where they can, right?
What's going to be really interesting is you've got a lot of owner-occupants who might have a chance to be a landlord for the first time. So maybe they'll be a lot more real estate investor friendly when they understand it's not as easy as it may seem.
There's a good point. That's a good point. It's a very different prospect or proposition than Airbnbs, which a lot of people have tried, and we know municipalities have said, we're going to go ahead and try and regulate that too, and then other people who have found that maybe it's not such a great thing to have an Airbnb guest in their home. And they get back to they go back to long-term tenant.
Accessory dwelling unit conversation, we are going to unfortunately see more vacation rental ordinances overlaid on top of that as well. So not only can you not have, at least one of the residents needs to be owner-occupied, but they'll probably add some stipulations while they're at it as no short-term rentals, so nothing less than 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And, of course, we're seeing a lot of that with apartment housing, too, multifamily properties. I don't see too many of them out here in Redlands, but good heavens, all over Los Angeles area, they're having the same discussions and what they can use for opportunity zones or transportation corridors, and saying, we don't have to allow for parking because everybody's going to take the subway, which, 20 years ago, people would say, what subway? in California, but there's so many things changing.
And after living in New York City, the LA subway and transportation system at large is nothing like Chicago or LA.
Yeah, and I grew up in Chicago area too. You can get around completely without a car, but you can't do that here yet.
No, and there's some exciting technology. The LA transportation is working on sort of like a whole hub model. So you're seeing the scooters and the bikes, and this year we heard that Uber is coming out with a membership model to. The concept being to solve the last mile. So if I'm on a train from Riverside to LA, by the time I land in Union Station, I've told, Uber where I'm going, and it sends me to a bay where I get in a car with 5 other people going to the same area at a much lesser cost.
It's true. Speaking of another thing of disruption, the amount of scooters that were rented exceeded the number of bikes that were rented or any other transportation by over 5 million. It was like 38 million to 33 million. It's crazy. We're really changing in that. Well, we do have to wrap some things up. I'm sorry we didn't have everybody calling, but I have enjoyed the conversation anyway.
Well, thanks, Julie. Always.
So how can people watch your market roundup again?
If they end up going to thenorrisgroup.com, under the blog, you're going to find all the resources from the radio show we produce to YouTube. I'm in any channel you can possibly think of. It just depends on how you like to consume information. So you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it.
That's great. Thanks again so much, Aaron, for joining me. I really appreciate that. This is Julie Talks Money, KCAA 1050 AM radio, coming from Redlands, and will be on here every Saturday. I hope that you'll join me again next week and every week here here on KCAA 1050 AM radio for Julie Talks Money. And you can call me at 323-389-5363. That's 323-389-LEND. 323-389-5363 with any questions, concerns, things you'd like to talk about, or if you want to talk about your real estate deal. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, this is Julie Phelan saying bye-bye.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind. Your NBC Sports Radio.